Man, what happened? We went from the 50s and the 60s down to 25 this morning. The ground is firm. It's cracking and popping when I step on it. Cold is here. Hello folks, Jason Chrisman, JC's Bees, your Central Ohio beekeeper. Today I want to share the Broodminder Apiary Starter Pack. This is an awesome package, folks. If you're into monitoring your hives with your Bluetooth device and seeing where the hives sit as far as temperature, this is going to be up your alley, I think. So what I want to do today is I want to show you what is included in the Apiary Starter Pack, and I want to show you how to set it up. And then at the end of the video, we're going to use the BroodMinder Bees App to go in and sync our devices, our BroodMinder devices, to mybroodminder.com. And then I'd like to go on to broodminder.com and kind of show you the readings I'm getting so you can see what you could collect from your hives. And then I'd like to show you a little bit about the Mesosphera app. And I may not be pronouncing that correctly, but it's part of BroodMinder and it's pretty cool how it all works together. So if you're interested in seeing how technology can work with beehives, you're going to want to stay tuned to this, folks. And I do want to mention Black Friday is coming up and BroodMinder is having an awesome sale on this kit. So without further ado, let's dive right in to the BroodMinder Apiary Starter Pack. What we have here is the package that just came in the mail from BroodMinder. Go ahead and open it up here. So here's everything that comes in the kit. What you get is you get 10 of the T2 temperature sensors. Let's get them all laid out here so you can see them all. Running out of desk space, tabletop. So there you go, 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And a SubHub. Now this SubHub is going to make it a lot easier to get my information synced from my devices to my tablet or to my phone without being in the brood yard. So we need to get this set up and experiment with it a little bit and see how it all does work. So let's clean all this up and let's go set up the SubHub. Okay, so I got the BroodMinder devices out here. I have yet to turn any of them on or open the back of this to remove the cardboard to activate the batteries. There's pieces of cardboard actually blocking the contact on the batteries. So you got to remove this screw, which you will need a little tiny screwdriver, pull out them pieces of cardboard, put the screws back in, and then it's turned on. They also have a note in there suggesting a couple devices or waterproof utility boxes that you can buy to mount these outside in your bee yard. This unit itself is not, and I repeat, it is not waterproof. So for what I'm going to use for now is my Easy Check container. The device fits perfectly inside of there if you remove the basket. So I got to take the screw out of the back, activate the batteries, put it back together, drop it in here, and then go around and place these in different colonies. So I just took a couple minutes and walked around and placed all the BroodMinders where I'm going to put them. This is a double box colony, so I'll put one at the top or in between the boxes, and I'll put one at the top. So therefore we got two sensors sitting here. Single box, single sensor, so forth and so on. If you remember, this colony here, it already has one. So we did not have to put one on the top of it, or do we have to install one? I'm not sure that the top box here actually has a whole lot of food in it. So when I go in to put this sensor in, I may be removing this top box. So for that reason, I've only got the one sensor here. These two nukes will be being left out of this test. That one died. That one's still doing decent, but being that it's in a polystyrene box, it's going to be a lot different readings than what we're seeing with these wooden boxes. This one's already got one sensor in it. We're going to add another. And then we've got these two back here. So now all I got to do is fire up my smoker, get my veil on, and get to work. Okay, now I want to make note now, before you install these, there is a little button right here in front of my finger. You have to press and hold that for 15 seconds to turn it on. I see the light come on there. That'll blink for a little bit just to let you know that it is on. So you want to make sure you have your devices on, obviously, before you think you've got them all done and find out you didn't turn any of them on. So I wanted to point that out real quick. Make sure you press the little button to turn them on and watch for that little light. A couple seconds after pushing the button down, the light comes on. Instructions say to hold for 15 seconds. So there's the light. Now anytime thereafter you press the button, say it's not blinking, you press the button, it will not shut it off. It'll simply blink again just to remind you, yes, I'm still working. So there's another thing you might note. On the BroodMinder devices, if you look towards the top, there's actually 3 little slashes. You see them right there? See those 3 little dashes? Well, it's made so that you can fold it right there and you're able to see the number of the device from with the outside of the hive. So you want to make sure you leave that part sticking out so you have a reference number without opening the hive when it's cold. All right, back to work. I'd like to make a note here that this could be done on a fairly cold day as long as you're quick when you're opening the hive. Remember, you're not making an inspection, you're simply breaking the seal between the inner cover and the hive body and inserting the sensor. You're not going to be in there breaking frames apart, lollygagging around. Pop the lid, stick the sensor in, and get out. Also, don't forget to turn on your T2 sensors before you insert them into the colony. Okay, so I had one more sensor to install, but it's not responding when I hold the button, so I'm going to have to assume the battery's probably dead in it and I need to replace it. So I'll save that for this last colony to do on a cold morning. Just pop it open, slide the sensor in, and be done. But I wanted to show on this nuke how placement of this device is crucial. Now we're only going to be using one BroodMinder on this 5-frame nuke. But the more I look at it, I'm noticing the bees are hanging out more towards this side than the side where the BroodMinder is. So I've got it shoved in pretty much about as far as I want to go because I want to be able to see this tag. But I'm not far from the bees, so any heat that radiates off of the cluster should still be picked up by the sensor. Now you also notice I have my feeding shim up here. This is where I'll place pieces of newspaper or wax paper and then pour on dry sugar once the cold weather gets here for good. I can't be putting dry sugar on while the bees are active because the bees will remove it instead of use it for food. But I just wanted to show how it's important that you place this close to where the bees are working. You wouldn't want to put it on the bottom board and expect a reading because obviously heat radiates upwards and the bees work up. They work from their bottom box to their next box to the next box, as far as their food stores and winter goes. And then once spring comes, they usually work their way back down if the beekeeper doesn't take those steps on his own and switch the boxes and put the top box on the bottom. So we'll see. So that'll be my last BroodMinder to install for now. Let's get this lid back on here and get the hub set up. Okay, so I'm going to take my small screwdriver, remove this screw. And here's what we have to remove. Whammo, bammo, done. Now we can discard of these, so I'll stick those in my pocket. Now we reassemble. There is no on button. That's why they had the batteries blocked the way they do. And that's it. This device is now on. Here's my number for the device, which should pop up in the BroodMinder app. So I want to explain to you what's so special about having the SubHub. The SubHub acts as a Wi-Fi extension on the BroodMinder devices, such as the T2, the TH, and the Hive scale. It's able to extend the Wi-Fi signal from your bee yard to the SubHub to your Bluetooth device, such as your phone, your tablet. So what it enables me to do, having the SubHub, is I can have my bee yard, say 100 yards in this direction. I can put my SubHub this direction, closer to my house, and now I've got an extension. My devices will sync to my SubHub, where it will store the information. What happens is your devices will send out signals for a few seconds every hour. And those signals are collected and stored in the SubHub until you sync the device. So by having the devices in the bee yard, I got the SubHub closer to my house. Now the devices are able to be stored in the SubHub, and I'm able to grab that information and sync it within my house. Without the SubHub, my bee yard is too far away and I have to step outside to gather that information. And without the SubHub, you've got to do them one by one. Okay, so now that I've got all the sensors installed and a hive, and they're all turned on, and I've got the batteries active now in the SubHub, now what I need to do is open up the BroodMinder Bees App. It's the newest app on the market, and it seems to be by far the best. So make sure you have the BroodMinder Bees App. That's what I'll be using to check my sensors. I also want to mention that the SubHub is not waterproof. It doesn't matter if you try and seal the seam with tape or silicone, it's still going to leak. So put it in some kind of a waterproof container. That is why I am using the Easy Check. We all know that you can put liquid inside the Easy Check and it does not leak. So it is weather tight. So now I want to show you how to use the BroodMinder Bees App to gather the information from the SubHub. So the first thing I want to do is open up the BroodMinder Bees App, which I have down here at the bottom on the left hand side. We'll let that open. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to find our SubHub. And we can see it's all the way down at the bottom. If we come up here and check the number on it, it is 5201C2. So we're going to click on the three dots. And we are going to hit sync. That's going to bring us up to this screen where it says sync all devices. So we're going to click on that. Now it's going to connect to the SubHub and gather the information it has stored since my last sync. So there we can see it's listed all of the sensors that it has stored. And it lists how many readings since the last sync. So I'm going to go down to the bottom and I'm going to click Save and Upload Selected Items. Now it's going to go through one by one and upload and save to broodminder.com. Now broodminder.com is where all the readings go, so you can actually see them on a scale and see how they read. I want to give a quick demonstration on that here at the end of this video. Done. Just that quick, folks. Now, could you imagine going around to each and every one of those sensors and loading them one by one? How much time that would take? Especially if you have to, like me, wait a few seconds for a Wi-Fi signal from the house. So yeah, it could be very convenient. So that's a pretty awesome kit, huh? It's amazing the information I've gathered just in the last few days of having this kit. And with the SubHub, it's just so super easy to collect the data in just a couple minutes versus going around one by one and collecting the information. Now don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with going around and collecting the information one by one, but I value my time. I don't know about you. My time is important. I ain't got time to go around and collect sensor information one by one. It would just be too time consuming. So the SubHub is a huge benefit to me, and I'm really enjoying it. So what I'd like to do now is take a couple minutes and we'll go into the BroodMinder app, and I'll show you some of the information I've gathered so far on my hives, and I want to show you the Mesosphera app and how it works with BroodMinder. So let's dive right into mybroodminder.com and see how the information shows up. Okay, so now I've come over to broodminder.com. If you look on the left hand side, you're going to see Home, Mesosphera, Apiaries, JC's Nuke Yard. That is my nuke yard. So we'll start out by clicking on that, and now you're going to see all of the sensors in each of the colonies in the right hand column. You're also going to notice here at the top, I want to go ahead and make a note. T2 and TH57, those sensors are not in colonies. Those sensors are sitting on my computer desk, and I want to conduct some experiments with them over winter. So those are the only two sensors that I do not have in a colony, besides the one that I need to change the battery in that came in my Apiary Starter Pack. So if we scroll down through here, you're going to see number 1, number 11, 29, 48, 803, 804, 805, 1 SubHub, Stan, and Sue. Obviously the 1 SubHub is not in a colony, that is the SubHub, but all the rest of those are in beehives. So if we go down through here, let's take number 1 for example, you're going to see it says above lower brood box 78.53 degrees Fahrenheit, and it also lists the last time I synced that sensor. The other sensor above upper brood box is 46.61 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was the same date that I synced that sensor. What that tells me by looking at that little bit of information between those two sensors only in the number 1 colony is that the bees are closer to the sensor in the lower brood box. That's why the temperature is higher. So if we get down through here and just look at some of the others, for example, let's take 803. It's 53 degrees, so that tells me that the bees have a little distance between them and the sensor, but they are doing fine. You're also going to see the 803 has a hive scale. That's the only hive in my apiary that has a hive scale, and currently it's sitting at 37.08 pounds. Well, the last time it was synced, and if you look, it says 11/21/2001 was the last time it was synced, I should say. So if we come back to the top here, you can see it says select a view, text. You can select hive. Now this is going to give us a little bit different view on each of those sensors. So now if we scroll down through here, you can see we've got a graph for each one. Let me go down through here for one I've had in a colony for a little bit, so you can kind of see. We'll take 803. Now we can take and pull this menu over so we get more of a full screen effect. And here you can see On November 16th, I added the hive scale to the hive. You can see it was just at about 4 pounds, and then it hopped up over 30 pounds, and that's when I actually installed the nuke on those hive scales. And then if you come on across, you can put your finger on the reading and it tells you the exact weight and the date. So if we scroll on down now and look at our temperature sensor, our T2 in the colony, the temperature, or the T2 sensor, is going to be represented by the red line on the graph. The dark colored line is the hive temperature scale. The hive scale actually has a thermometer built into it, so it's able to record the temperatures outside of the colony. And then the pink, as it's got labeled, is the outside temperature, and you can see that's reading right along with my hive scale. So if we look, let's take one of these peaks in temperature. Right there, November 17th, it was 77 degrees in the lower brood box. At the same time, the outside temperature was 66 degrees. So let's move on over here to the end and look at it. Outside temperature, 35 degrees, 55 degrees in the lower brood box. And then if we come on down, it'll tell you the outside humidity, and you can also scroll down and see how your batteries are reading inside of each of the sensors. And that would be your hive scale and the T2. So what I've noticed is the temperatures kind of make the battery fluctuate. On warm days it kind of builds back up strength, and on cold days it goes down. So now what we'll do is we'll go back to my apiary or my nuke yard, and you can scroll right down through, and my SubHub even is giving me an outside temperature reading, which is nice. Gives me something to compare with. Now when you look at this, let me move this side menu over so we get a full screen again. On this top graph it says temperature. Outside temperature is the pink. Outside of the hive is the darker purple. Now the outside temperature and the pink, they use a local temperature source to get that. That's why I like to have something in my own apiary or in my own area to get temperature from, because it's not always accurate with local temperature, and you can see the difference there on that graph. So that's just a little bit on what mybroodminder.com looks like. So isn't that pretty interesting? You're gathering real information right from your hives. You can tell by the temperatures in the colony that your bees are still alive. You don't have to go out and knock on the hives, open the hives. You can simply do a sync of your sensors and see the readings right there in front of you that tells you, hey, it's that cold outside. The inside of the hive wouldn't be that warm if the bees were dead. So now let's check out the Mesosphera app and see how BroodMinder is working with them and what it can do for you. You can see the Mesosphera is right underneath home, so we'll click on that, and we'll, even though I've got a tab opened, we'll open a new one. Now this is some pretty interesting information here, and I don't understand all of it. I'm pretty new to this app here, but I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what it can do. What it does is it gives you the option to add one image of your bee yard or your hives. What I did was I took a picture of each of the colonies, and then I made a collage and put them all into one picture. So now what you're looking at here is each of the colonies that have the sensors in them. You're going to notice some of the sensors have green boxes, or most of them, and then you're going to notice number 11 has a white box. The reason for the white box on number 11 is it's saying on 11/22 you have not synced the sensor, so the information is not current. Now if I go back to the 21st, you're going to notice all of them are green, because that was the last time I synced my BroodMinder devices. So if we scroll on down, you're going to notice underneath the picture it says brood. We can click on brood, and it gives us a rough idea on what the brood production is like in our colonies at this time. And you can see on number 11 we're down to 4% brood production, number 29 about 5%, and so forth and so on. And I'm not sure how it gathers this information. I'm going to guess by the heat that the sensors are recording. Now if we click weight, for some reason, and I don't understand this, number 803 has a hive scale under it, but the weight doesn't come up there. I don't quite understand that. Now if we click on devices, it lists each of the sensors numbers for each colony, so you can have a quick reference to which sensor is in this colony. Now if we come on down, it's going to give you some events in your bee yard. So you can see in November I've got a hive tool. If I click on over that, that was the day, the note's off the side of the screen, and I probably had to flip my screen wide instead of up and down, and I don't really want to do that and change the video format. What that's saying though is that's the day that I installed the T2s and the Apiary Starter Pack. Now if we click on the raindrops, we had rainfall that exceeded 1 inch. Click on the snow, flake, temperatures will be unusually cold, and you can see we've had that for the last few days, and it's right on the money. It has been unusually cold. Now if we click on the lines again, bring up the side menu on the right, go down to weather, now this is rather interesting too. If you notice on the foraging index, I didn't put that information in there, but somehow it knows that the bees were foraging. And those just happen to be the days that I've open fed here recently. How does it know that? Not quite sure, folks. And if you look at the top graph where it says nectar flow index, they actually line up with the foraging index. That's quite interesting. And then you can scroll on up and notice that the temperatures were warm on the days that I open fed. Interesting. Well, one thing I do want to add is on this temperature graph, they're using a local source to get the light blue line, and if you look on right about 11:19, I added another source, and it's just a straight blue line. That is the hive scale itself monitoring the temperature. So you can see I just started that and I haven't synced it to catch it up currently, but that is what that white or solid straight line is about. So there's a lot of different things you can do with this application, folks, and I look forward to playing with it and using it a little bit more, but so far I really like it. So like I mentioned, BroodMinder's having a Black Friday sale on this kit, the Apiary Starter Pack, and if it's something you're interested in, you can save a little bit of money if you buy it during their sale. So go over to broodminder.com and check it out. They've got a lot of other neat devices over there on their site too. I know they've got a new hive scale that eventually I would like to upgrade to and see how it all works with the sensors and all that. So if you buy this kit and you need a little bit more instructions on how to set everything up, Rich over at BroodMinder just came out with a video that shows all the details as far as setting up mybroodminder.com before you sync any devices. And he's got a lot of handy information in there. Matter of fact, I kind of wish the video was out before I set mine up. It would have saved me a lot of headache. But it wasn't. I had to figure it out on my own. So if you need a little help with that, go over there and check it out. I'll link it up here in the corner and you can just click there to go over and see it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, you'll throw me a big thumbs up and maybe even subscribe. And if you do subscribe, make sure you click on the little bell so you can get notified when I release new videos. I also want to mention that you can go to becounted.org and go all over the world and click on different sensors and see what they're reading in those areas. It's completely free, it costs you nothing, and it's rather interesting. So you could see the information maybe in your area if somebody has BroodMinder set up. So if it's something you're interested in, go to becounted.org and check that out. Thanks for watching, folks, and have a wonderful week and an even better holiday. Happy Thanksgiving, stay warm, enjoy the family time, and we'll see you Sunday.